right.
Okay, Fran, what
Well,
might be going on?
We're checking out the bat camera again, and so far we're not seeing any movement just yet. So we're still a lot of light in the sky yet. So the sun hasn't gotten down enough for them to start coming out, but it's going to happen any time now.
Oh, great.
So.
And Fran, when they do start coming out, what can we expect to see, and kind of how quickly? What experience can we expect soon?
Well, the first thing we'll see is just inside the mouth of the cave in the darkness. We'll actually start seeing the bats fluttering around and swirling right there. It looks like the air is moving because you just catching a glimpse of them in the twilight there. And then they're going to move out to the mouth of the cave and start swarming there. And because they're at the bottom of that sinkhole, they have to spiral upwards to clear this sinkhole and get high enough to clear these trees. Once they get high enough to clear the trees, they're going to fly into the wind, just like an airplane does, so it helps gives them speed and lift. Because they want to get away from this cave as quickly as possible.
So they might fly over us.
So they could very easily fly over us tonight with the way the wind's blowing right now.
How exciting.
And they're going to try to get away from the predators that are going to be lurking in the area waiting for them to come out. So that's what they want. Yeah. So it's going to happen very soon.
Oh, great. You know what? We cannot wait. we really cannot wait to get to see this amazing emergence of the Mexican free-tailed bats here at Bracken Bat Cave. Okay, we're going to catch a couple more questions, so if I can ask you guys to stay on as our experts here. Certainly. Okay, here's a great question from the Chickawa Aztec Cultural Group in Conroe, Texas. Okay, the question is, what role does smell play in bat ecology?
That's a really good question. And I say that because there's so many different bats that some bats are much more reliant on smell than others. But let's talk about our Mexican free-tailed bats, for example. There's millions of bats in the cave, and there's millions of young. Each bat has a baby. And they leave those bats on the walls of the cave at night to go out and feed. And when they come back, they're able to find their own baby because they can recognize the call that it makes and the sound and the scent, its own scent.
That's amazing.
It's incredible. Other bats, some of the fruit bats, are also using their scent, and as well as their eyesight, not just to find the ripe fruit, but also the blooming flowers for the nectar. So they can key in on those at night. So scent is very important for bats and other animals.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Thank you. And Allison in Virginia asks, are bats wary of humans?
Well, I mean, they know we're around, and for example, sometimes people will see bats swooping down near their swimming pool to get an extra but they're actually swooping down to get a drink of water. They're not coming down to check out the people that are in the pool. So they're in the same environments that we are. They're in the cities, so they know we're there, but they don't. They're chasing after bugs, and not us.
Not us. Okay, great. Here's Christopher in Bristow, Virginia, and he wants to know: is it a good idea to have a bat as a pet? They are cute.
Oh, they are cute, but Christopher, that's a bad idea. In fact, in most states, it's illegal to have bats as pets. These bats, like the ones Diane have, are non-releasable. They can't survive in the wild. And Diane is a certified wildlife rehabilitator. I mean, she has to have her facilities inspected and keep meticulous records. So she keeps bats, but she treats them as wild animals. They are not pets. So, no, sorry, afraid bat is not a good pet.
Well, that's good information to share, though. Thank you, Jim. And Joe in Sanford, Florida asks, how far do the bats fly each night looking for food?
The Mexican free-tailed bats will go a 60-mile radius of here to feed every night. So they go out looking for those agricultural insects. Some of the bats are actually feeding on the insects at the top of the crops and are feeding on insects that are migrating up to 10,000 feet in the air. Wow. And the emergence is actually so intense you can see them on the Doppler radar, and hopefully we'll get to see that later.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Great. And Aaliyah in Dale City, Virginia asks, why, when bats hang upside down, why doesn't the blood rush to their heads and make them dizzy? Because we all know that happens to us.
Bats have all the physiological adaptations to prevent that from happening. I mean, they've evolved to do that. And it makes a lot of sense for a bat to hang from the ceiling because it's easier for them to take off to fly. to have flight, you have to have very large chest muscles, and you also need to reduce your weight as much as possible. And if they had very strong leg muscles as well, to jump from the ground, for instance, well, that would give them more weight, and they wouldn't be as effective of flyers. And also, hanging on the ceiling of the cave is great because you're usually really safe from predators. Nothing is going to get you up on the ceiling.
Great, thank you. That's great information. I know a lot of people, I wondered that too, so that's great. Okay, and Taya, who's a 7th grader at Shepherd Middle School in West Virginia, asks, how long does a baby bat stay with its mom before it can live on its own?
Well, when they're first born, the baby bats will actually hang on to the mother for the first few days, and that's when mom and baby are getting to know what each other's smells like and what each other's voice sounds like. And then she'll put the baby in the nursery section of the cave where it'll be safer. After that, the mothers will nurse the babies for about 6 weeks. And then when you're 8 weeks old in bat world, you're on your own.
Wow, 8 weeks. They're on their own pretty soon.
Pretty quick.
So the bats that we see coming out tonight, some of those are going to be just young of the year.
Right. They're this year's babies, and at this point, they're over 8 weeks old, so they're on their own.
Great, great. And here's a great question from Desan in Woodbridge, Virginia. We have bats in our neighborhood, but we don't have any caves. Where do the bats go during the day?
Well, in the summer months, bats often will roost in man-made structures. They'll roost in undersides of bridges, people's attics, abandoned buildings, other kinds of structures like that. In fact, in a lot of the old communities where you have old wooden houses or brick buildings or so on, there's always little cracks and chinks and holes and so on behind the chimney or up in the eaves, and those are great places for bats. Bats find those, they're really warm, and again, they're very safe from predators, so a lot of bats are probably in the buildings in Virginia right now.
Great, thanks. You know, these are great questions. Please keep them coming in, and we'll do our very best to answer as many as we can